Welcome, students. Today we're working on section 3.2, more solving linear equations. Yesterday we worked on either adding or subtracting from an equation or multiplying and dividing. And today in our equations, we'll actually do both of those processes in one equation. Okay, so it's just combining those two things together. So we're going to solve equations of the form ax plus b equals c, where a is the coefficient, it cannot be zero. X is the variable, B and C are constants. So the same rules apply. One, combine like terms on both sides of the equation. Then always, second, use the addition principle of equality, and add the opposite of the constant term to both sides. Then three, use the multiplication or division principle of equality to multiply both sides by the reciprocal of the coefficient of the variable, or divide both sides by the coefficient itself. I really like that. We want to make sure that the coefficient of the variable will become a positive 1. That's our goal, is to make it a positive 1 on the variable. And then finally, check your answers. So here we have the equation 5x plus 3 minus 2x equals a negative 18. When I look at that on the left side, I can see that I have two like terms that need to be combined. I have the 5, oops, oh, how did I do that? Don't want to do that. Okay. I have the 5x and the 2x that can go together, okay? And so I'm going to combine those together. I gotta get this to cooperate first for a second. Oh, okay. Here we go. So I'm going to combine them together, the 5x and the negative 2x. That gives me 3x, doesn't it? 3x plus 3 equals a negative 18. So I've taken care of step 1, which was combining like terms. Step 2 was adding or subtracting. In this case, or when we talk about subtracting, we're really just adding the opposite, aren't we? So here we have a positive 3. What is the opposite of a positive 3? It's a negative 3. So I'm going to subtract 3 from each side, and that leaves me with 3x equals a negative 21. And now I'm on my third step, which is to divide by the coefficient. And finally, I get x equals a negative 7. And then my fourth step would be to check it. So I can go back and put that negative 7 in, check that it is correct, and yep, it's a true statement. Number 2, the left side is completely just a constant, right? But the right side might have some things that can be combined. I can see that there's a 2y and a 4y, a positive 2y and a negative 4y. If I combine those, I get a negative 2y. And so now I have a negative 26 equals to a negative 2y minus 14. And this minus 14, I'm going to add the opposite of a negative 14. So I'm just going to add 14 to both sides. And a negative 26 plus 14 is a positive 12. Or sorry, a negative 12. The negative was larger, right, of our armies. And I have a negative 2y. And now I'm going to divide so that the coefficient in front of y is a positive 1. Well, to do that, I have to divide by a negative 2. Negative 2 on both sides. Negatives divided by negatives make positives, so 6 equals y. And then fourth step, check it. If it turns out that it's true, we have done it correctly. Now, are you going to always be able to check in a test? Sometimes a test, you're limited to how much time you have. But if you have time, like say you finished early, always go back and check your answers. You'll save yourself a lot of problems with missing points if you'll go back and do this check, this fourth step. Okay, here we have 16.53 minus 18.2z minus 7.43 equals 0. Right here, I have two like terms that are constants. So I can combine them. 16.53 minus 7.43 is going to give me what? 9.10? Oh, okay, they're going to do something a little different. Let's finish it my way first, though. We're going to get 16.53 minus 7.43 is going to give us 9.10 minus 18.2z equals 0. And now, come down here, we want to add or subtract 9.10 1 0 from both sides. Let's go down here, put this up here. We're going to subtract 9.1 from each side. And that's going to give me 0, leaving me with a negative 18.2z equals a negative 9.1. And if I divide, then by a negative 18.2z, and I'm going to show that division by doing that. A negative divided by a negative gives me a positive, not a z though. I'm not going to do the z. That's what we're trying to keep, just the 18.2. I get, so sorry about that, no z with that. I'm going to get just z equals a positive 1 over 2. Okay, now they're going to show you in their step a new way of doing this. This is called clearing the decimal. It's a really good practice and one that I would recommend over working with the decimals. You notice that this decimal is our last digit's in the 100th, last digit here is in the 10th, and the last digit here is in the 100th place. So I am going to times this by the highest digit. In this case, it's going to be the 100th. So I'm going to multiply this whole thing by 100. And you're going to see them do that, just like that. And then when I do that, what that does is moves my decimal over 2. So now I've gotten rid of all the decimals and I'm working with just whole numbers. And then I can combine them together. Here is a like term with that like term. 1653 minus 743 is 910. Minus 1820z equals 0. And then they're going to subtract 910 from each side. And then divide by a negative 1820, and they're going to get z equals 0.5 or z equals 1/2, just like we did. So you have the choice to clear the fractions or the decimals or not. I prefer to clear the decimals, but if you have a calculator, it's just as easy to work with the calculator. Here is another one. So we're just checking it. We're going to put 0.5 in and see if it's true. And yep, sure enough, 0 does equal 0. Okay, now this one has a fractions, doesn't it? And they're going to show us how to clear the fractions. I actually showed you that on an earlier problem in yesterday, but let's look at our fractions here. We have 2, 4, 2, and 3. What would be our least common multiple or our common denominator here? It would be 12, wouldn't it? So I'm going to multiply everything, both sides, by 12, and I have to distribute that 12 on every one of them. And that's what will clear the fraction, even on the 0. So watch how that works. I'm multiplying everything by 12. And now you can see how 12 times the 1/2 x plus 12 times the 3/4 x plus 12 times the 7/2 minus 12 times the 2/3 x equals 12 times 0. Now, what's 12 times 1/2? Well, that's just really, we're going to look at that, 6x, isn't it? And let's go back. This is really 6x. And 12 times 3 is 36. And 36 divided by 4 is really 9x. And 12 times 7 is 84. And 84 divided by 2 is 42. And 12 times 2 is 24. And 24 divided by 3, that would give us the negative 8x. Okay, and 12 times 0 is still just 0. And so that's where they get these right here. And now we're going to combine any like terms. 6x plus 9x, that's 15x, minus 8x, that's going to be 7x. 7x plus 42 equals 0. So we're going to apply the addition equality principle and subtract 42 from each side. And now we're ready for applying the multiplication or division principle of equality. We're going to divide both sides by 7, and x equals a negative 6. We can do the fourth step by checking it, but we're not going to do it. So these techniques illustrated in examples 2a and 2b could have been used to solve equations with decimals or fractions in section 3.1. That is, either work with the decimals or the fractions as they are, or multiply both sides in such a way that constants and coefficients are integers and not rational numbers. Okay? Here's a little hint about checking. Checking can be quite time consuming and need not be done for every problem. This is particularly important on exams. You should check only if you have time after the entire exam is completed. But if you have time, please do it. So now we're going to switch a little bit to geometry. And we have this picture here. The perimeter P of a rectangle is the sum of twice the length L and twice the width P. So perimeter equals 2 lengths plus 2 widths. That makes sense, right? I walk one length, I walk one length, I walk a second length, and a second length. So 2 lengths plus 2 widths. That's what it means for the perimeter. It's the distance around. So when they're talking perimeter, you're just adding up the sides. So this says the perimeter of a football field is 290 yards. If the length is 100 yards, what is the width? So we're going to use this formula right here. What do we know? We actually know P, don't we? 290. And if the length is 100, we actually know L, so we can write 2 times 100 plus 2W. And notice now that we have an equation. 2 times 100 is 200. So let's look and watch this followed through. Just there. Now we're just going to follow our basic steps. Is there any like terms to collect? No. So I'm going to add or subtract. In this case, I'm going to subtract 200 from each side. And that leaves me with 90 equals 2W. And now I'm ready to divide by the coefficient in front of W, which is 2. So I'll divide by 2. And W ends up being 45. So now I know the width and I know the length. So we're going to practice these problems. Pause the video for a moment and work the problems and then check back in. All right, so we're going to go ahead and go through these problems. Let's do number 1 right here. X plus 14 minus 8x equals a negative 7. So I'm going to combine my like terms right there. That gives me a negative 7x plus 14 equals a negative 7. Then I'm going to use that principle of addition, equality, and I'm going to subtract 14 from both sides. That gives me a negative 7x equals a negative 21. Then I'm going to use the principle of multiplication equality, multiplication or division. I'm going to use division right here, negative 7, and divide by negative 7. And I want to divide by the negative because I want x to be positive. And in the end, I end up with x equals a negative 21 divided by a negative 7. That would be a positive 3. Number 2, 2.1 is equal to 3.1y minus 6.4y minus 1.2. I'm looking here and I see a like term. 3.1 minus 6.4 is going to give me a negative 3.3y minus 1.2. And I didn't do anything to this side. I'll just bring the information down. And now I'm going to apply the principle of addition by adding 1.2 to each side. And I get 3.3 over here equals a negative 3.3y, and that just became a 0, didn't it? And now I'm going to apply the principle of division of equity and divide by 3.3, but I'm going to divide by a negative 3.3. And negative, or 3.3 divided by a negative 3.3 is just 1, and we get y. Y equals 1 in that case. You can go back and check them if you'd like. On number 3, I'm going to clear these. And on number 3, I want to do this by clearing the fraction again. So I look at my denominators. I have a 1, a 3, a 2, and a 6. The greatest common denominator for that is going to be, once again, a 12. Both sides by 12. So I have 12 times n minus 12 times 2n over 3 minus 12 times 1 over 2 equals 12 times 1 over 6. And notice I multiply that 12 on every side of the equation. That's how I clear the fraction. Then 12 times n is just 12n. Minus 12 times 2 is 24, but 24 divided by 3 is 8. I could also look at it this way. These can reduce, giving me just 4 times 2. These are going to reduce, giving me 6 times 1. And don't forget the n there. Minus 6 is equal to, these will reduce, and that's just equal to 2. And notice there's no more fractions. I cleared them. So 12n minus 8n, those combine, don't they? That gives me 4n minus 6 equals 2. And now I'm going to add 6 to each side. I get 4n equals 8. And then I'm going to divide by 4. Divide both sides by 4. And I get n equals 2. And our last one, we'll also do it this way. Clear this. 3x over 14 plus 1/2 over, or minus x over 7 equals 0. What's the greatest common, or the least common denominator here? The least common multiple happens to be 14. So I am going to multiply everything by 14. So I have 14 times 3 x over 14 plus 14 times 1/2 minus 14 times x over 7 is equal to 14 times 0. Well, these 14s don't just cancel each other out, leaving me a 3x. I can pre-reduce, and I get 7 times 1, which is 7. Pre-reduce here, I'm going to get minus 2x. And then, of course, on the right-hand side, I'm just going to contain a 0 there. These are like terms. They're going to combine. So I'm just going to have x plus 7 equals 0. Or subtract 7 from each side now. X equals a negative 7. And that would be my answer. All right. Good luck with your homework. I think it's going to be good for you. And if you have any questions, make sure you stop and ask me. Okay?